Somerset Overtime. Today we are going to be talking about a new road race in town, which has kind of a different type of twist on it than a lot of road races have, and that it's tied into one of Somerset's biggest historical events, and it's also going to be used to raise money for a charitable cause. But we're here with Bob Gaw, who's the one who had the idea for this race, and Don Setters, who is going to talk about the history of it, which involves his mother. What's the name of the road race?
Shirley May France 10K road race.
Okay, and obviously the history of this relates to Shirley May France. So, Don, can you tell me about your mother?
Well, at a very young age, my mother was very clear that my mother was a terrific swimmer. In fact, at 10 years old, she swam out to the Borden Flats Lighthouse, right off of Brayton's Point, and to play checkers with the lightkeeper, as a lot of the kids in the neighborhood did. And she showed up by herself, and he's like, "Where's your boat?" She says, "I didn't have a boat. She swam." She got in a lot of trouble for that. That's quite a swim. But when it was realized, the kind of swimmer that she could be, her father, who was a swimmer in his own right, introduced her to different events at swimming clubs in Florida. That was a very extremely popular pastime in the 1940s. Sandy Beach and these different clubs along the Florida shore, especially. He entered my mother into these races with adults, and she outswam all of them. So it just shot off from there, one thing after another. Shirley was the first woman to swim across Lake George, New York, at I believe about 15 years old. She swam Coney Island from Manhattan, and there was over 1 million people in attendance for that swim. And she made some other various, big swims, winning all kinds of trophies and accolades. And finally they said, you know what, maybe she could be in the Olympics. But the Olympics gave up the idea of having endurance swimming. So that's when the English Channel became the target. So in 1949, she made her first attempt to swim the English Channel. Most publicized swim of the English Channel in history. Unfortunately, she was not successful. Her swimming party spent days and weeks, and the weather would not cooperate with the swim. And they were running out of money and funds. And she finally, at the last moment, largely because of her 17th birthday was coming upon her, and she wanted to swim it at 16 years old. But between the bad weather and the time constraints with her birthday was coming up, she made the attempt and was not successful, unfortunately. So that's not uncommon. Very, very few athletes could swim something like that.
It's a pretty long swim.
Right. But she came home to Somerset to the grandest receptions, multiple receptions, that this town has ever seen. Big clam boils and parades. It literally had thousands of people. I mean, there weren't even that many people living in town back in those days. There were people who were so excited about her, and they were down at Brayton's Point. They had block parties. Cream Rich had a block party. They had fireworks. They even had a sign at the termination of the old Brighton Street Bridge, and it said, "Welcome to Somerset, home of Shirley May France." She was really internationally known and loved by everybody. I think that's what kind of made it, I think, why it got as big as it did get. So, 1950 rolls along, and she goes for her, what they said was her second attempt to swim the English Channel. And I don't think you even knew about this stuff.
Yeah, you know, I've always known about the 2 attempts, and I was on
In
Facebook.
1950?
I was on the Facebook the other day, and I saw you say that not a lot of people know that she actually tried it 3 times. So
Right.
yeah,
What was dubbed as her second attempt officially was really the 3rd attempt. Because the second attempt, which was completely sanctioned by the Swimmers Association and everything, was put out to be a training swim.
okay.
But they had all the, my mother had decided, had everything gone perfectly with the weather, and she was feeling good, that she was gonna go for it. I don't think anyone thought it was really gonna happen. And that was, the real second attempt was the closest she made it, making the other shore out of the 3 attempts. And you're in the water for, up to 12 hours, swimming in frigidly cold water, and all kinds of obstacles, fish and jellyfish and porpoise out there in the English Channel. And like I said, the water is absolutely freezing. The North Sea dumps into there. If you make it across in the narrowest part of the channel from France to England, they say it's equivalent to swimming 50 miles. So I couldn't imagine doing anything for 50 miles. Nevertheless, swimming.
I mean, that's almost 2 marathons.
Right.
And swimming is harder than running, even as a former runner, I admit. And so she also got to know a lot of celebrities. She had a TV show, right?
She did. She had her own TV show called The Wife and I. It was WJAR. And that ran, it had Ted Knight starred in that. I think you know who Ted Knight was.
If you've watched the Mary Tyler Moore
Mary
show.
Tyler
Yeah, I
Moore
guess I'm
show.
dating myself,
And there was
but
some shows
she
after
had
that
some
that
other
we did.
shows. He had some other shows.
Yeah, and Walter Colville was the husband in that show. She was the wife. And then she did radio, did all kinds of interview programs, spun records, and she worked at WSAR, doing that right there. She was a hat model for the Brewster Hat Company, traveling all over the country, promoting Brewster hats. So she had a chance to try all kinds of things as a result of the fame that she got, from swimming the English Channel. And like I said, she got to meet all kinds of, all the biggest athletes, from Rocky Marciano and Joe Louis, Ted Williams, a lot of the big, I mean, they actually knew her by first name. And when she set off to swim, she got calls from these people wishing her good luck, like Johnny Weissmuller and other people.
Was Frank Sinatra one of them, right?
Frank Sinatra, got to know him. He sang to her his first trip to England at the Palladium Theatre. He sang to my mother. She got to sit in the Queen's booth, and he sang a song to her, and blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is, she was so famous for that very small window in time that some of the biggest names that we know today were trying to rub shoulders with her. So people would see them, But that was a, flash in the pan, of course. She turned away from that notoriety and never really liked it very much. She was a quiet person.
I did interview her one time, and I remember you telling me that I was the first one she let interview her in a long time. She hadn't talked to
Yeah, I remember as a kid, you know, the phone ringing, and it was the Washington Post or the New York Times, and doing follow-up stories. You know, where is Shirley today? And my mother wouldn't do those stories. You'd have to tell them, you know, sorry, she's not interested in doing that. She just wanted a normal life after all that fame, and she really gave up her entire childhood training, you know, for that one goal. And you know, people ripping her out of the back of cars and parades, stuff like that. People sneaking around the property where they lived down at Brayton's Point, trying to get photographs of her, stuff like that. And she was promised, you know, a big movie, that she was going to be a movie star. She was going to be the next Esther Williams, you know, using her to market all kinds of things, which did happen. A lot of companies used her image and her story to sell all kinds of things. Watches, you know, she sold watches for the Kingston Watch Company. They had a Channel Champion waterproof watch that was made, you know, for her swim and used and all that kind of stuff. And you know, she just wanted to come home to Somerset, have a normal life, and turned away all the opportunities to be in Hollywood and do big time stuff. She didn't want it at the end, you know.
Why did you think it would be a good idea to have her associated with this race?
Well, it's really nice that, I mean, she was definitely an inspiring person. My mother was the type that believed she could do anything, no matter what. It just took persistence and training and practice. And I think there's a strong message there for anybody that's participating in this 10K road race. That at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you won the race. What matters is that you tried, you shared in the camaraderie with all the other runners, and you know, there was a writer for the BBC, Teresa Denny. She was a journalist as well. She was a war correspondent. And after one of my mother's swims, she wrote a heartwarming letter to her, and she said, I've never seen a person with such, and I'm paraphrasing, determination, and I think she used the word pluck. That must be like an English type of thing. She said, you have nothing to be ashamed of, and although you did not succeed, the fight was so grand that the result is unimportant. And that's a great message, I think, especially to our youth today. It's, you know, it's doing the best that you can do and being the best that you can be.
Yeah, I remember the documentary that you had made on her, and it wasn't that kind of the theme of it?
It was, yep. Although we may not succeed, the fight can be so grand that the result is unimportant. And we attribute that to Teresa Denny.
Sounds like it would be a good Disney movie.
Well, they just actually made a Disney movie called Young Woman in the Sea. And that movie is about my mother's friend and kind of a mentor who was the first first woman to swim the English Channel. I think in 1926, 24, 26. And they made a great movie, Disney, about that whole event. And it's a nice family movie too. So if anyone wants to see a nice Disney movie, it's Young Woman in the Sea. But her story, I think, would be a different story, and it would be, I think it would be inspiring, it would be very different than any other movie or story written about the English Channel. Yep.
So Bob, can you tell me about the race?
Sure. I tough to follow up on that.
Well, it's all related.
Yeah. So a few years ago, I got into running. I started going to the Somerset Berkeley Education Foundation 5K road race, and from there, just kind of kept taking off. My wife Jen, who's involved in town as well, she's in the Parks and Rec board. She started getting really into it, and we started going to other road races, and we were going around, and I was talking to the groups that put them on, and I joined the Economic Development Committee, and I just thought what a great way this would be, looking at the impact races and running has in other communities like Narragansett. They have the Blessing of the Fleet. In Bristol, they have the 4th of July. They have a half marathon. Cranston has the Gatsby Days. And I said, if you can get the right story and the right message out there, this is something that can have a tremendous impact on the community. So it did take some thinking, and I had to do, and going around, and then I reached out to Don and asked if this is something we could do and use Shirley May to promote the race for economic development in town, help out some of our businesses, and help. And very grateful and gracious that you said yes, and your family. So once we had that, and we had the commitment that we could use the name, I started going around and talking to other people and seeing who else wanted to be involved. Josh Darlington from the Parks and Rec Board, for example. Traditionally, we had the Spirit of Somerset in town, and his soapbox race was done the same day. Unfortunately, the Spirit of Somerset has been dissolved at this point, but this is going to be the same weekend that traditionally was. So that's going to still be the same day as the race in the morning. The race is going to take place at night. I recently had a conversation with John Larson from the historical group in town. He wants to do a historical walk the same day, which I think goes in great with what we're doing, just showcasing some of the town's history. But I do.
They used to do that in the village here on Main Street. You
That was
probably
nice.
remember
Yeah,
Marietta
yeah.
McDonald
Participated
and
in
Jimmy
that.
Jackson. They used to do that.
That was popular. A lot of people enjoyed that.
Yeah, and it just so happens to be the same weekend that Malton Catholic's coming to play the football team in town. So that's going to be a big game, obviously, with the basketball season this past year. I think a lot of people are looking forward to that. So
football too.
Yeah.
The football team beat them last year.
yeah, so I think this is going to be a really fun weekend. I think it's going to bring in a lot of excitement to the town. I think all the businesses are going to benefit in the area, and I'm hoping other ones reach out and say, hey, what can you do for us? I know, talking to the town administrator and the police chief, they want to move the race next year so it starts and ends at Town Hall, and they can have a little festival at Pottersville, and maybe some of the businesses in that area will benefit a little more. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great thing for the town, and I do think as the race grows, much like the New Bedford Half Marathon has, and much like Blessing of the Fleet has, and some of those other ones, I think it's going to be a really great thing for the town. The Greater New Bedford Track Club has already put this on their Grand Prix, which is unheard of for our first year. So they're going to be sending a lot of runners, which I'm really looking forward to. But again, just looking at the impact that this kind of thing has had in other communities, I'm excited for the town.
Yeah, I had told Bob too, because that was his focus. He wanted something, that would help move the town and promote economic activity and all that kind of stuff. And I made him aware of the fact that when Shirley was in England, it was written more than once that she did more for the economy in England at that time than the Marshall Plan did, right after the war.
It's phenomenal.
So that tool can work in a smaller scale right here in town.
Now, back in my younger days when I used to run, 10Ks were the race. They were kind of like 5Ks are today. They were everywhere. And 5Ks were kind of looked at as they were called fun runs. they had them with the 10Ks, and but you don't see many 10Ks around as much. Why did you decide to go with that distance for this race?
I wanted to take advantage of the waterfront in Somerset on Riverside, and at first I was thinking of a half marathon, but it wasn't going to work. Then I thought a 10-miler if we went down Main Street and kind of swung back around, but just the logistics of it didn't make sense. But there's really not many 10Ks around anymore, and that just about worked out with the map of the race very well, with taking advantage of the waterfront, going into Pierce Beach a little bit, showing some of that, and coming back. So that's why we decided on the 10K. But you're right. I mean, that's actually my favorite distance when I run, and it's tough to find them these days. And the fact that it's a night race is even, I think it's going to bring even more excitement to it because there's very few night races around these days.
That's true.
Yep. And I think that's going to help out the businesses even more, that everybody's going to be open on a weekend night. So we're going to bring in more excitement to the town. And that's, like Don pointed out, that is the main focus, to help out our businesses in town and just show them how much we appreciate everything they do for us.
The comfort zone's going to throw a great after party
Yep.
for the race. And you're going to have some other businesses there
Yep.
as well.
No, I talked to Fiestas. I know Eau Claire said we can use their location for the bid pickup the day before, and that's going to help bring in some traffic there. Still waiting to hear back from Somerset Creamery, but they're right there, and they're going to benefit either way, no matter what. And obviously, late September is not Target ice cream season, but I think they're going to get quite a bit of business that night from all the families that want to go over. County Fair Hot Dogs is going to show up for all the people that want the quick food in the parking lot. So I think it's going to be a good thing.
And a good thing is that this is all being done for a charity as well.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about
Yeah, the Haley Allard Fund, she's a young girl that unfortunately a few years back, she passed away, and she was going to UMass Dartmouth for nursing. The family started a charity for her, and they actually had a road race I participated in a few years ago. Unfortunately, it didn't continue. So knowing that they had a road race in town, they were one of the people I thought of and asked, like, hey, is this something would you want to participate in some way, and we can maybe raise some money for the scholarship fund, and they were thrilled that we thought of them. So it is an economic development activity, but that is the charity that's going to benefit.
You mind if I ask a question? And how does the nurse thing fold into there? I see on those little medals.
Yep.
It says something about a nurse.
So she
scholarship or something?
she was going to UMass Dartmouth for nursing,
Right.
and her mother is in the medical field as well.
Okay.
So the scholarship is for somebody who's going to school for nursing.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
So, and this is going to be an annual race, right?
Mhm.
So you're hoping to do like a different
Yep.
charity each year?
Yep, I know. I think next year I don't want to say anything before talking to other people, but I think talking to Ken and Michelle Oman, I think we might do it for Selena next year. That's
Be a great
what.
cause.
Yeah, and it's just to toss them out there. They're bowling events the next day, at the and that's always a big popular event in town. So. Glad that all these events are happening the same weekend, because I do think when you have a lot of events piled up like that, they all feed off each other. So I know, like, even we've talked about when you have a road race in town, those can tend to help out other road races at the same town. I know in Narragansett they have the blessing of the Fleet, a half marathon, a 10K, and they all help each other out. They're always over there, hey, come to our race, sponsors, everybody, they like having that. So, and there's a reason when anytime you used to see a Burger King, there was a McDonald's right next to there. And
Car dealerships.
yeah, the same thing. So I think it's a good thing. So
Yeah, I mean, because your race isn't long before the Education
Yep.
Foundation's race, so hopefully they can get some more runners.
yeah, I think they will.
They should have some flyers. In
Yeah,
the
no,
race.
I think they're going to really benefit from it, but it being very close after. The fact that theirs is a morning race and ours is a night, you're not going to get the same kind of runner. But I think there will be some people that will definitely benefit. I know the Billington family race, we put out a lot of stuff there. There was a lot of interest, and just going around, like even today, I took a ride up to Mansfield to go to the Marathon Sports up there and talk to them, and they were really excited to hear about it. And some people, and then that just all feeds off. It's like, oh yeah, Somerset, and it helps out the Billington race. It's going to help out the education race. So they all kind of go together, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, I know when I ran, I just looked at what race was each week. But it did help. I would go to these races, and there would be a table, and there would be all these flyers
Yep.
that you would pick up, and it did help you to find other races.
Yeah.
I told you my mother lived on Riverside Avenue,
You did, yes.
so they've been doing that 4th of July road race for as long as I can remember. And she always referred to the runners as my runners. And she had to have everything all set up. My father had to have the water and all that stuff to hand off
Yeah.
to people. Right, 'cause the house is pretty close to the street.
It's almost always very hot.
Do you ever
that
remember
race.
that? Hear it going by
Yeah, it's a
there?
hot
She
one
remember that?
usually, yeah.
And she'd be sitting up on the porch, and she'd be, Yeah, she has a lot of respect for
Oh,
people
and when
who.
she was doing her training for the swimming, did she do any running?
She certainly did. That was part of her training process. Yep. My grandfather would be trailing not far behind her in his car, and she'd be in front, doing the running. So
I think if Sylvester Stallone sees this, he's going to make a movie about it, so we got to be careful. He was known for that. I think that was how the Rocky movie came about. It was watching the Chuck Wepner fight.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so
he is the...
just about anything you can think of, people ran as part of as part of their training. Now running's its own major pastime and event.
Yeah,
it's really big.
Well, I mean, and we're fortunate. Not far from here is the Boston Marathon, and that's really the standard for all marathons. Whenever you're running a marathon and you're looking for a qualifier, they talk about the BQ, the Boston qualifier. It's nothing but that. Everybody else is behind Boston. Chicago, New York, nothing against those marathons. They're great.
Boston is the most prestigious marathon.
No question.
And it's the oldest.
Yeah, I mean, in IndyCar racing, you have the Indy 500, and marathon running, it is the Boston Marathon. There's no question.
Yeah. And we also have the Falmouth Road Race in the state, which we have some people from the Education Foundation that are running that to raise money.
And that's awesome.
But that's another big race.
Big impact on Falmouth, too. And I mean, that's a conversation that Paul Cogley and Jeff Marks and Heather Robertson and everyone, and Tommy Richardson, we've all had on the Economic Development Committee, is the impact that race has had on Falmouth. And that's a point-to-point race, rolling hills. I mean, I've never run it. I went a couple of years ago when the Education Foundation started doing it. I went to go see the runners, but
Did you know someone who was running?
Yeah, my wife ran that.
I knew that.
But the Berkeley crowd participates as well because it's a Somerset Berkeley event. But the track at the high school and the football field was completely paid for by the Falmouth Road Race.
Yeah.
So we know how much that cost. I'm just going through that right now in town, and how much it cost to put that up. So they completely put that up through the Falmouth Road Race. So just as the race grows, but it wasn't that at that level when it first came about. But as it grew, you could see the level and the impact that it has in all the other events around the Falmouth Road Race. And again, much like the New Bedford Half Marathon and some of these other ones that have really grown over the years, it's a huge impact on the town and on the city or town. And the New Bedford Half Marathon, I don't know if you know the history of that one. That was just a few guys that were running the Newport Marathon that year. They were looking to start a race to train, and they put it together, and it ends up being on the Grand Prix for the Boston, and it ends up just being right on that weekend because Boston and Newport are the same weekend. And all these people from Boston come down, from Somerville, and the people from Rhode Island that are doing the Newport. What a huge event that is!
Yeah, but believe it or not, as far as knowing that race goes, and I know it's 13 miles. That was my first road race.
Was it really?
I started running in high school, and I was kind of a nut. And I said to my parents, I want to run this half marathon.
Yeah.
And they were attracting, now this was back in the 80s, but they were attracting big runners back then. Jeff Smith won that race the year I ran it, and I don't know if you know Jeff Smith, but he won Boston twice.
Wow.
So they attract elite runners there as well as the Falmouth race.
Yeah, no, we have a phenomenal running tradition here in New England.
Hopefully you can attract some elite runners here someday.
Yeah, probably not the first year, but I do think this race, particularly with the scenery, particularly with the community here and how involved everybody is and how much the town embraces and appreciates their businesses and just top to bottom everybody. Greg Gagne to this day, for just tossing another name out there, still celebrated in town. I think it's going to be a good fit here. I really do, much like some of those other communities that running's done well. And so, like you said, the 4th of July race has been going on so long, and now we get the 10K race. I think this is got really good potential here.
Yeah, we have a race in the summer, 2 races in the fall, so we need one for the winter and for the spring.
And you have all those right in Somerset, George? Those other races that you speak of?
The 4th of July race.
Well, I know that one.
The Education Foundation race. Huh. A long time ago, they tried a Columbus Day race. That was I think it was a 10K. Mm-hmm. But that one only lasted like 1 year, and they didn't do it afterwards. I don't know why. Um,
Yeah, and it's a good opportunity, and then next year again, looking forward to maybe working with John Larson and some other people to do a small festival at Pottersville. That's the target spot for it, and trying to help out some of those other businesses in that part of town. So we'll have to reach out to Ma Rappers and some of the other and excellent pizza. That's excellent pizza there. I just have to think for a second, and maybe the Mallard and some of those restaurants, and see what we can do to partner with them to help them out and send them some business their way too. So
Yeah, it might be a neat thing to move around.
yeah, I think that's.
So it's a different, people benefit in different ways.
And I've done races too where the finish line is in one spot, and then there's a restaurant hosting an after party that's a couple miles down the road, and people will actually get in their cars and drive to the after party where they have some festivities there. So I'd like to kind of stay away from that because it's kind of tough getting back in your car and getting going. But no, you're right that you could potentially do another one and have you can move the 10K around and maybe start and end finishing somewhere next to Gus's Pizza, and some of those facilities over there could benefit as well too.
Right, yeah.
So
Who knows?
I do like the idea of moving it around so you spread the wealth. But I do think Elroy and Comfort Zone, they're a perfect partner for the first year to get this off the ground. I think Elroy's going to do a phenomenal job throwing a party. He's very excited about it. Every time when we brought it to him, he jumped right at the opportunity, and he is. I know we've talked to we have a few mutual friends like James Jarvis. He's said Elroy is just so excited about this opportunity. So
yeah, he's a really nice guy. He's a former marathon runner. He ran Boston.
He told me that, yeah. But I it's just it makes me excited seeing how excited some guys like Elroy are just to be part of it. So, and everybody that's part of the group. I mean, they didn't come today, but just a phenomenal group to work with. Everybody has been great to work with. Town hall's been great to work with. The police department's been great to work with. Everybody wants to see it succeed. When we went to the Board of Selectmen meeting, such a positive response from all the members there. And Don made a great point that night that, we have a member on the Board of Selectmen right now. His daughter is a world-class skater, and maybe one day we'll be talking about her. And we'll see how that goes. But it's everything she's accomplishing right now. I think right now she's at a national championship skating right now, I believe, right?
Yes.
So wish her well. I hope it goes well for her.
You started this through the Economic Development Committee, so that's another group of people who really helped.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think I mentioned them before, but Paul Cogley, Jeff Marks, Heather Robertson, Tommy Richardson, and everyone else that's on the committee, they've just been phenomenal to work with. So it's nice when you got a good team to work with, and everybody works well together, and there's just a lot has been getting done. So even the group that we hired to help promote the race, True North Running, he commented to me. He's just said, "I can't believe what a good group you have here." I'm like, "No, this is one of the best teams I've been on," and everybody just works so well together, and everybody takes their role and does a good job with it. So he says, "I wouldn't change this group one bit. This is just such a good group you got helping out with this." And everybody takes their role and knows what to do and runs with it. So
now, if people want to sign up for the race, or if they want to sponsor the race, how do they do that?
So I've been putting out. Actually, I think they're over there. We got a QR code on the pamphlet we have. There's a Facebook page that has a link to the Run sign up page, and you can donate there, right to the Haley Allard Fund when you sign up. If you want to make a donation, Jeff Marks and Paul Cogley have been handling all of that, so you can reach out to them, and really appreciate any donations to cover some of the costs going along with it.
Okay. Are you going to be running that day?
I am not going to be running. No,
You're going to be working.
I'm going to be working it, and I do have the Philadelphia Marathon coming up. It doesn't fit in the training schedule.
Okay.
But Jen will be running.
Don, are you going to be running?
No, but there are there'll be some setters in that race running.
Okay.
I've already seen them signed up. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that'll be nice. And
So we'll have some grandchildren of Shirley May in the race.
that's right.
All right.
Yeah, maybe they'll win.
And I'm hoping to maybe get some artifacts from, maybe we can display that day at the Comfort Zone.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Historical Society has a couple of them.
They have quite a bit of material
Okay.
from that time period
Yep.
with her, and I have quite a bit too. And I'm
Um,
always happy to share it And which brings me, I just have to thank you for even coming up with this idea and then, asking us, because it's makes me proud and happy. My mother would be very, very, she's smiling down. Honestly, because for me, it's going to keep this story going for future generations.
Yeah.
Won't be totally lost.
No, it's an important
And,
story.
Something like this, thank you
I
for doing that right there.
I think it was the perfect story and the perfect situation for what we're trying to accomplish, and just even hearing you talk about the economic impact she had alone, and what we're trying to accomplish, I think it fits so well, and I'm glad we're able to bring back a little bit of what she did for the town way back when, and just making some of the future generations aware that if you work hard, you can some of the things you can accomplish. So I think things are going in a really good direction in town lately, and I think they're going to continue to go that way. And I'm excited to see how where we end up.
All right, thank you for tuning in to Somerset Overtime. If you're a runner, go out and run the Shirley May France road race on September 20th, or if you're a sponsor, get in contact with them. Or if you just want to come out and watch and enjoy the great after party at the Comfort Zone, we will see you then.